Now at 10, rising COVID cases force many area schools to return to remote learning or cancel classes. Plus, President Biden announces a plan to send millions of COVID tests to schools nationwide. And Pitt State welcomes international students as they arrive in the 4 states.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Multiple school districts all across the 4 states announced they'll go virtual through the rest of the week due to illness among students and staff. This is KOAM News at 10. Pittsburgh, Fort Scott, Webb City, Galena, Frontenac, and Arma are some of the latest area school districts to announce they're canceling classes or going virtual. Yesterday, the Carthage School District announced they would transition to virtual learning through Friday.
We had 104 staff members absent yesterday morning, and it grew as the day continued. Obviously, we had a lot of kids gone also, and it had to happen. We needed to cancel school.
The superintendent says he hopes with school being closed Monday as well, they can use the 5 days away to slow the current spread of COVID-19. You can find more on how area schools are proceeding on our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. Officials with Freeman Health System say COVID cases and hospitalizations are increasing locally. Freeman is currently treating 35 COVID patients. At a briefing today, officials noted that the Omicron variant is not as severe but is more contagious, leading to the spread. They also say the patients dealing with more severe illness are usually unvaccinated. The Biden administration is increasing federal support to schools during the Omicron surge with a plan to send out 10 million tests. Omicron's grip on the U.S. is driving case counts to record highs, and the CDC says the variant now accounts for almost all of them. Reporter Skylar Henry has more from the Capitol.
The CDC says the Omicron variant is now responsible for 98% of new COVID cases in the U.S.
The sudden and steep rise in cases due to Omicron is resulting in unprecedented daily case counts, sickness, absenteeism, and strains on our healthcare system.
The U.S. is averaging 751,000 cases a day. That's up 47% from last week. Nearly 20,000 daily hospitalizations and 1,600 deaths a day.
I suspect the deaths that we're seeing now are still from Delta.
The surge collides with cold and flu season, and many pharmacy shelves are bare. But there's reassuring news about Omicron, too.
If you're vaccinated and if you're boosted, the chances of you getting sick are very, very low.
The Biden administration announced a plan on Wednesday to send 5 million rapid tests and 5 million lab-based PCR tests to schools nationwide to help them stay open.
These 10 million additional tests available each month will allow schools to double the volume of testing they were performing in November.
Chicago children returned to classrooms Wednesday after a 5-day standoff between the teachers union and the city over safety protocols.
We want our kids to be safe. We also want our kids in school. Glad that they were able to come to an agreement.
Minnesota's governor is moving $40 million to help state hospitals with staffing shortages. And the U.S. Army is storing cash at its pandemic recruitment problem, offering a maximum bonus of $50,000 to highly skilled soldiers who join for 6 years. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The CDC says it's updating the information on its website about masks, but is not changing any recommendations, saying the best mask is the one that you will wear and the one you can keep on all day long. Checking in with Doug Heddy now for a first look at the weather.
Well, it turned out to be a decent Wednesday for us today. Not too bad across the region. Temps into the mid-50s, started at 40. Average high is 44, so 10 degrees above that mark. A little bit cooler today, about 2 degrees cooler just because we've had some clouds kind of shifting through, but we're still watching this system right off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. It's that system that will start to affect us by the time we head into Saturday. Light snow in our western county and then light to moderate snow for most of us. Accumulations aren't going to be a bunch, but something we want to watch as we go through the next couple days. Now, until then, we look okay. Low to mid 40s right now. I do think we'll drop back into the mid 30s. Later on tonight, 47 by 9, 55 by noon. Look at that, near 60 for a high for us tomorrow. So, of course, we'll break down the next few days here in just a bit.
See you then. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly last night laid out her priorities for this legislative session in the State of the State address. At the top of that list, is eliminating the state's sales tax on food, and soon. She wants that accomplished by Kansas Day, which is January 29th. Governor Kelly is also calling for another freeze in tuition at Kansas colleges, and she wants to set aside $600 million of the state's surplus revenues in a rainy day fund. The Missouri House panel advanced a plan for redrawing the state's congressional districts that keeps the current political balance in place. The map, endorsed today by a House panel, is projected to result in 6 Republican members in the U.S. House and 2 Democrats, the same as what currently exists. Some Republicans and the state's largest anti-abortion group had urged lawmakers to adopt a map that could make it easier for Republicans to win 7 seats, but no attempt was made to do that today. The redistricting plan is expected to be debated by the full House next week. Moving to a new country, even if only for school, can be a scary experience. So, Pitt State made sure some new students had a warm welcome. The university put together a big display at the Joplin Airport for international students arriving for the new semester and a banquet back on campus. Officials say 70 international students from 18 countries are attending this semester.
The most, I think, to discover the American culture. So the way of studying, the way of eating, everything. And I hope that everything's going to be all right.
The university also hosted a soccer game tonight for the students. Another kind of student is also at Pitt State this week. Sales professionals in the woodworking industry are in town for a wood tech boot camp, as they call it. It draws in people from all across the country, even some from Canada. The camp is designed to compress a semester's worth of courses into a week to train people on the latest machinery and techniques.
The fact that, one, we can show off our program. You know, to me, that's the biggest thing, is it all has to do with the relationships and that continued support, because without that support, our program wouldn't be near as strong as it is. And so we really rely on those partnerships.
About 10 people are taking part in the boot camp. There'll be another camp in May. Coming up, tennis star Novak Djokovic admits to breaking COVID rules, potentially putting his Australian visa at jeopardy. And a U.S. judge makes a ruling on Prince Andrew's request to have a sexual complaint against him dismissed. The Department of Justice has launched a new unit focused on the rising threat of domestic terrorism. Officials say a team of attorneys will focus on the threats and make sure cases are coordinated at the federal level and all across the country. A top national security official told lawmakers this week that the number of FBI investigations into suspected violent extremists has more than doubled over the past 2 years. A federal judge in New York has denied Prince Andrew's request to dismiss a sexual complaint against him. Virginia Giuffre is suing the British royal for allegedly having sex with her when she was 17 years old. She claims the late Jeffrey Epstein trafficked her and forced her to have sex with his friends, including Prince Andrew. Giuffre alleges the prince knew she was underage at the time. The judge ruled her civil complaint is not unintelligible or vague and is allowing the case to continue. The visa battle for Novak Djokovic has taken a new twist, with the tennis star admitting he broke COVID rules in his home country of Serbia. The revelation comes as immigration officials decide whether to let him play in the Australian Open next week. Trina Kraus reports.
Novak Djokovic is back on the tennis court, training to defend his Australian Open crown, but a series of faults threatens to keep him out of the tournament. The star player says he blames his agent for making a mistake on his visa application by not declaring he'd traveled to Spain and Serbia in the 2 weeks leading up to his arrival in Australia. Djokovic also admits breaking Serbia's COVID isolation rules and says he made an error in judgment by meeting with a journalist for an interview and photo shoot after testing positive for the virus. In a statement on Instagram, he wrote, "We are living in challenging times in a global pandemic, and sometimes these mistakes can occur." Some Australians aren't buying his excuses.
I don't like his arrogance. I feel he's come across as he's above it all.
But Djokovic's mother is coming to her son's defense as the government decides whether to deport him.
Don't throw him out. He is a tennis player. He's not politician. He is not a criminal. He is not murderer. He is just tennis player, the best in the world. Just let him play.
Australian border officials revoked Djokovic's visa last week and later reinstated it in an ongoing saga over whether he should be allowed to stay and compete, despite not being vaccinated against COVID-19. The immigration minister is expected to decide the superstar's fate on Thursday. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
Now, if Djokovic gets to play and wins the Australian Open, it would be his 21st Grand Slam. He would become the most successful male tennis player in history. A little bit later, why a local storage tank manufacturer was showcased on national TV.
Plus a little bit of snow in our forecast. We're going to break that down for you coming up. It definitely turned out to be a pretty good Wednesday for us today. A lot of clouds during the afternoon, but overall not that bad. Temps into the mid-50s. Tomorrow looks good. Friday looks good. Then we have to start watching our storm system for the weekend. A little bit of light snow on Saturday, plus it's going to draw in a lot of cold air, so it's going to turn much colder for the weekend, of course. You can get my long-range forecast on my month-long blog. That is KOAMnewsnow.com. All right, looks okay right now. This is a live shot. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri, but it looks pretty good. We have some clouds which have been streaming through, but all in all, nice day. Most of us into the mid-50s, 4 highs. We've dropped back low to mid-40s. I think we'll drop into the mid-30s later on tonight. So cold, but it could be worse. We do still have some clouds which are rotating through, so we'll call it partly cloudy skies for us tonight. Nothing underneath the clouds, so we will stay dry. Let's go out west. Here's our next storm system, and then you can see this area of high pressure right on top of Las Vegas. So if you follow the arrows, it goes up over the ridge and then kind of drops in. So this storm system up over the ridge, and then we'll drop in. It's going to take about another 2.5 days to make it here. It kind of matures once it passes by, but it will give us a little bit of snow as we head into the weekend. Until then, we look okay. Let's go mid-30s tonight, partly sunny skies tomorrow. Nice warm up, warmer than what we did see today. I think most of us will go near 60 during the afternoon. Here's your day planner for you. We'll start at 34, 55 by noon, high temp is 60, northwesterly wind's going to be light at about 5 to 10. Let's move into tomorrow night. Clouds will start to increase. Partly cloudy skies on Friday. But even on Friday, I still think we'll go into lower 50s. Friday night, look at the rain, starts to increase, pushes in. So this is 11 p.m. I really think this is a little early. I think this is going to be after midnight. As we go into Saturday morning, we'll switch over to a little bit of light snow. So we'll see a band of snow Saturday morning, and then we'll have to wait for the backside to rotate through as we head into Saturday afternoon. So we may even see 2 bands. See an early band, and then as we go through late morning into the afternoon, this back band will rotate through. This is going to be fairly light snow, but it will be a very wet snow. If it can come down at a pretty good clip, it will cover the roadways, but because it is a wet snow, it's more of a kind of slushiness on the roadways. All right, amounts, we're going to have to fine tune this. This is 3 days away, but here's what my thinking is as of right now. Of course, this is a forecast. We're forecasting the future, so as we get closer to the date, we fine tune it. I think most of us an inch, maybe upwards of 2 inches isolated southwestern parts of Missouri. Western counties around an inch, which can still cause some issues on the roadways. It doesn't look like it's going to be a huge storm system, but again, something we want to watch over the next 2 days. 60 tomorrow, 54 Friday, rain over to snow on Saturday, cold all weekend long. You know, if it was 70 degrees, I would stay inside and watch playoff football. If it's 29 degrees, I'm going to stay inside and watch playoff football. Does not matter.
What if it's somewhere in between those two?
Yep, staying inside.
Sounds like a good
Maybe I'll
plan.
sit outside and watch it.
Oh, there you go. Thanks, Todd. Hey, when a small business gets national attention, the exposure can lead to more opportunities and more workers applying. Well, that's what Tank Connection in Parsons, Kansas is seeing. The storage tank manufacturer was featured on World's Greatest, that program. Officials say the rewards are easy to see.
With some of the way the economy is right now, you have the quote-unquote great resignation. It definitely helps with some of the employee turnover, and it brings new employees here. They want to work here, they want to be an owner, and they want to be really one of the world's greatest.
The program World's Greatest features companies and organizations that produce industry-leading products and services. Coming up in sports, we're going to hear from the Carthage boys on their hot start to this season and the 4th-ranked Labette women open conference play at home against Allen. Jacob Leonard has those highlights and more next.
Well, the Labette women's basketball team is once again one of the best in the country this season. Labette is 8-2 in their first 10 games, currently ranked 4th in the national rankings. Now, tonight, the Cardinals at home against Allen for the Jayhawk Conference opener. Tamaya Robinson starting out strong, pulls up the 3. 17 in the first half for Robinson. She finishes with 22. Here she is again, Robinson to Kayla Braxton Young. Cardinals up 3 at half. Robinson, we're not done with her yet. Dishes this one off to Chrissy Faison for the bank shot. Going the other way now, Hallie Reed, really good from deep, hits her 4th triple there. Game tied up at 39, but in the 3rd, it's Ishana Hunter. Gives Labette the spark they need. Steal and the finish. 7 of her 11 come in the 3rd. Labette able to close this one out down the stretch, 64-56.
The girls did a good job executing, making sure we got good shots and then, getting some timely stops at the end of the game. I think it came from our energy. Ishana Hunter had a big stretch there where she got a couple steals, couple breakaway layups. She was just playing really hard. And I think that's kind of what put us over the top. Anytime you get a win in the Jayhawk, it's a big deal. There's no bad teams in our conference, so, if you get a win, you got to go home happy.
To Division I men's action tonight, SEC rivalry game between Mizzou and Arkansas. Arkansas, listen, they were up 49-15 at halftime. They continue to roll, finishing this one off 87-43. The Carthage Tigers are off to a hot start this season. The Tigers are 11-2 in their first 13 games after topping Carl Junction last night. At guard play, been a big key for Carthage so far. Max Templeman leads the team with 15.8 points per game. Joel Pugh right behind him at 15.2 points per night, and actually became the program's all-time 3-point leader earlier this season. You throw in this guy, Justin Ray, who's scoring nearly 8 per night, and got a pretty dangerous trio on the perimeter.
It's nice that we've got Joel Pugh, Justin Ray, and Max Templeman that aren't in a fall sport, and so those guys put time in and they lived in the gym, and we kind of go as they go, and they're the catalyst to our team, and you can tell that the time they put in has paid off.
Last year, having that time as varsity players, and then coming back this year with keeping those 3, it's been pretty easy to keep that rolling.
Carthage is scheduled to return to action on Friday on the road against Hillcrest. You can check out our full story with the team on the sports page at KOAMnewsnow.com. This week is the opening week of the playoffs in the NFL. The Chiefs start things off on Sunday night, facing the Pittsburgh Steelers on Wild Card Weekend. The Chiefs 12-5 heading into the postseason, while Pittsburgh is 9-7-1. The quarterback Patrick Mahomes in just his 4th season as a starter, but got quite a bit of playoff experience already. Played 8 playoff games, gone 6-2 with a Super Bowl title, and learned plenty of lessons along the way.
The first thing you kind of realize is that at any moment, one play can change really the entire game. And I know it's like that in the regular season, but playoffs it even goes to a different level. You know that one play can change. It can really end your season or keep it going. So you try to limit your mistakes as much as possible, knowing that it's going to be a battle to the very end, every single playoff game.
That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
We take time now to honor a local veteran. Joseph Yost joined the U.S. Army in 2002. The Bernal, Missouri native was stationed in Iraq. And we salute Staff Sergeant Joseph Yost, a 4-state hero. 3 young children near Denver are alive and safe after falling into a pond. They survived thanks to the heroic actions of bystanders and first responders. Reporter Bradley Blackburn has that story.
First responders performed life-saving CPR on a 6-year-old girl near Denver.
There we go. Come on,
She
honey.
was playing outside a relative's house when she fell into an icy pond with 2 other children.
I was just looking out my window and saw a couple kids just walking on the ice pond.
23-year-old Dusty Talavera put her shoes on and sprang into action.
Before I even realized it, I was out there on the middle of the pond pulling 2 kids out, and that's when I fell in the pond.
Luckily, there was another bystander on the scene.
There was a young man that threw us a rope, and he pulled us out.
Honestly, I would say it was just a perfect storm, to be honest. The fact that we had her witness these kids fall in there and her quick reaction to just quickly put on some shoes and run out there.
Emergency crews are also praising her actions.
Back at the fire station talking about how brave she was, how great the officers did. And gosh, I hope if this happened to one of mine that somebody like her was close by.
All 3 children are expected to be okay. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Heroism and quick action by people who really don't give it a second thought. They just jump in where needed. The weather looking pretty nice tomorrow.
It does, pushing 60 during the afternoon, 54, a lot of clouds on Friday, and then switching over to a little bit of light snow by Saturday. The weekend is going to be much cooler.
Final sports notes.
Back to college basketball tomorrow evening. Missouri Southern at home. Also Pittsburgh State hosting Emporia State. That game, of course, moved from tonight to tomorrow night. But they will be back on the floor. We'll have those highlights tomorrow night.
Very good. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget our morning show, 5 a.m., and let's make it a great tomorrow.